The American Broadcasting Company presents famous jury trials, fictionized dramatizations of cases typical of many taken from actual court history. The dramatic story of our courts, where rich and poor alike, guilty and innocent, stand before the bar of justice.
Court is in session. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you are the judges of the evidence to be laid before you. Be just and fear not, for the true administration of justice is the foundation of good government.
People versus Radin.
The People versus Radin, an intriguing case through which the number 21 shuttles like a weird symbol of destiny. The story begins with 21 and ends with 21. The beginning, January 21st.
Hit me.
5-11 showing.
Hit me again.
6-17 showing.
I'll stand.
One card, please.
9-17 showing.
The snick and slap of cards dealt on a green beige table, the drone of the dealer's voice, other voices, one at a time, rising above the subdued murmur to call for a card, chips raked in, chips passed to players, each move part of a kaleidoscopic pattern that holds the people around the table spellbound. From adjoining rooms of the rambling villa on the outskirts of the city come the click of dice and the whir of roulette wheels. But here in this room, blackjack is the game. Here everything revolves around the number 21.
Yes, I'll take one.
10-16 showing.
Fix me.
Hit me.
4-11 showing.
Again.
6-17 showing.
I'll stand.
One card, please.
9-12 showing.
That's enough.
Paying 19.
Uh-oh, beats me.
Pay me. 20.
Make your bet. All bets.
Tommy Abbott, the society playboy, is having a sensational run of luck. He wins time after time. As the chips pile up in front of him, an attractive young woman slips away from the blackjack table and goes to a telephone booth in the hall.
Hello?
Slim,
Yeah.
this is Alma. I'm at the Sunset Club.
Anything interesting?
The blackjack game is very interesting tonight.
Ed and I'll be over in a little while. Hang around when we get there. Then you know what to do. Understand?
I understand. I'll be looking for you.
Time passes. The blackjack game goes on. Many players drop out to watch the exciting play of Tommy Abbott. Tensely, they follow every move.
Hit me.
6-14 showing.
Again.
3-17 showing.
No more.
Paying 20.
Pay me. 21.
Why don't I have that gun? Once at Monte Carlo, I saw a man.
The game goes on. The dealer's face remains an expressionless mask, but his fingers tremble nervously as he handles the cards. A hard-faced man shoots a quick glance at a tall, slender spectator on the other side of the table. Unnoticed, they edge away from the crowd and meet in a corner of the room. With barely any motion of his lips, the hard-faced individual says,
Looks good, Slim?
Yeah, those stacks of blue chips ought to be worth at least 12 grand.
All blue chips, huh? That's the kind of dough I like to see.
Shoot. 9.
I'll take another.
4-13.
And one more.
3-16 showing.
Now, that's enough. I'll stand.
What about you, Mr. Abbott?
Hit me.
7-13 showing.
I'll stand.
Paying 20.
Then pay me. 21.
He did it again.
Can you tie that if I didn't see it with my own eyes?
Make your bet.
Hey, Slim. Slip out and wait in the car. I'll stay here till he cashes in.
Okay, Ed. I'll be waiting.
Shortly after that, Tommy Abbott leaves the gambling house, gets into his car, and drives toward the city. Not far behind him trail the dimmed headlights of another car, a car containing two people.
Around the next turn, when he comes to that soft shoulder of the road, that's the place. I'll crowd his car off the road. You fire a couple of shots to get him rattled. He'll crash into a tree. It'll look like an accident. Okay, here goes. Now.
The early morning newscasts and papers announced that Thomas Abbott had been murdered and his killer, Edward Radin, apprehended. The story went on to say that the police had not been fooled by what was expected to look like an automobile accident. And now, Edward Radin, his face hard and defiant, sits in court and hears the prosecutor tell the jury.
Human life is sacred. That law is the very foundation of civilized society. There are times when men are so overcome by emotions and passions that they transgress that law. In such cases, we temper justice with mercy. But there are no mitigating considerations in this case. This is clearly the foulest of all crimes. Murder for profit. Edward Radin killed Thomas Abbott in cold blood. As this trial progresses, you will learn that Abbott wasn't the only victim of Radin's bloodlust. As this trial progresses, you will agree that Edward Radin must pay with his life for his crime.
Is the state ready to call its first witness?
It is, Your Honor.
Proceed.
Will Stephen Zadek take the stand, please?
Stephen Radin, take the stand. Raise your right hand. Tommy, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, help you God? I do. Be seated.
Now, Mr. Zadek, you were the blackjack dealer at the Sunset Club on January 21st of this year?
Yes.
Did you know the deceased, Thomas Abbott?
Oh, yes. He came to the club frequently.
And do you know the defendant, Edward Radin?
Only by sight. I've seen him at the club a few times.
Well, was he there the night Thomas Abbott was killed?
Yes, he was. I remember seeing him as I was talking to Mr. Abbott. That was when Mr. Abbott was getting ready to leave the place after almost breaking my neck.
Oh, men may come and men may go, but Stephen, your deadpan goes on forever. Show some emotion, old boy. You've just lost $21,000.
Breaks of the game. I'm glad it was you who won it, Mr. Abbott.
Oh, I haven't really won anything, you know. This is just a small part of the money I've lost here from time to time. But I get a kick out of getting some of it back. It isn't the money, you know, it's
Mr.
the...
Abbott, may I make a suggestion?
Too, if it'll make you any happier.
Why not leave the money with the cashier? $21,000 is a lot of money to carry around at night.
Oh, $21,000 is a lot of money to carry around any time, old boy.
It would be much safer for you to leave the money with us. You can pick it up during the day.
Oh, no. I've won it, and I'm going to take it with me. That's half the thrill of winning.
As you wish, sir.
Besides, if anybody else gets as lucky as I was, you'll be broke before I get back. No, I'll take it with me.
And did he do that, Mr. Zadek?
Yes. He took his money and left.
Did you see the defendant at that time?
Yes, he followed Mr. Abbott.
Thank you. Your witness.
Mr. Zadek, how do you know that the defendant followed Mr. Abbott?
Well, he left the room right after him.
Oh, that could mean that he went to the dice room or to the roulette wheel or to any one of several other rooms, couldn't it?
Yes.
Then why do you unhesitatingly state that Edward Radin followed Tom Abbott?
Well...
I'll tell you why. It's because you made a deal with the district attorney. If you turned state's evidence and did everything possible to convict Radin, the district attorney agreed not to prosecute you and your colleagues for operating a gambling house.
If it please the court, that is not true.
Do you expect the jury to believe that this gambler came here of his own free will, knowing that every word of his testimony makes him liable to fine and imprisonment? The truth is that the police department and the district attorney's office are under pressure to find the killer of the socially prominent Tom Abbott. So Edward Radin was selected as the one to frame for the crime. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, listen to the flimsy evidence the state is presenting. According to the dealer, Radin left the blackjack room shortly after Abbott died, but that doesn't tell us where he went. He might have gone anywhere.
I'll prove that he followed Tom Abbott. Will James Williams take the stand, please? That's all for the moment, Mr. Zadek.
James Williams, take the stand. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, help you God? Be seated.
Mr. Williams, you were employed at the Sunset Club on January 21st?
Yes, sir. I was a doorman.
Were you on duty the night Thomas Abbott was killed?
Yes, sir.
Did you see Mr. Abbott leave the club?
Yes, sir, I did. I ordered one of the attendants to bring his car to the door.
Did you see anyone else at that time?
Yes, sir. That man.
You mean the defendant?
Yes, sir, the defendant. He left the club at the same time.
Did you order his car for him?
No, sir. No, sir. He walked down the driveway and a car on the road picked him up.
And which way did it go?
He followed Mr. Evans.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, now you know that Edward Radin didn't go to one of the other game rooms. You have proof that he followed Tom Abbott.
Are you through, the witness?
Yes, he's all yours.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, who coached you to tell the story you just told?
Objection.
Sustained. Mr. Williams, how do you know that the defendant followed Tom Abbott?
Well, the car he got into went the same way.
You mean in the same direction?
Yes, sir.
What direction was that?
East, toward town.
Well, don't practically all cars leaving the Sunset Club travel east toward the city?
Yes, sir, they do.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, simply because the defendant's car turned east, the direction taken by over 90% of the patrons of the Sunset Club, the witness tells you that it followed the deceased.
Well, didn't it?
By that kind of reasoning, the people in every car that traveled eastward can be suspected of having killed Tom Abbott.
The state doesn't suspect that the defendant killed Tom Abbott. We know it to be a fact. And for proof, I call Alma West to testify. You may step down, Mr. Williams. Alma West to the stand.
A shapely blonde in a sleek, form-fitting dress walked up the aisle. A subdued murmur of masculine admiration accompanied her to the witness stand, but it died abruptly when she turned, and the spectators beheld the look she directed at the defendant. It was 24-carat hatred, so stark and intense it sent chills through the assemblage. There was a dramatic pause. Then the district attorney broke the silence with a few words that started a barrage of staccato questions and answers that rang through the courtroom like a volley of 1-2 punches.
Miss West, who killed Thomas Abbott?
Edward Radin.
How do you know that?
Because in a way, I helped to plan it.
Why?
It was part of our business,
And what was your business?
hijacking people.
Would you please explain the details to the jury?
We specialized in sticking up gambling house customers. I circulated around. When I spotted a big winner, I let my partners know about it. They did the rest.
And who were your partners?
Edward Radin and Slim... That is, Richard Everett.
Well, now, did you inform them that Tom Abbott had won a lot of money at the Sunset Club?
Yes?
Did you know they were going to kill him?
People who get money at the point of a gun are bound to kill somebody sometime.
Well, did they kill any of the other people they had hijacked?
No, they just held them up. But Tom Abbott was the kind that would try to put up a fight. Radin always said that the only thing to do with that kind is kill them before they have a chance to start an argument.
I see. Well, now, Miss West, I want you to tell the jury exactly what you did on the night of January 22nd.
The courtroom was spellbound by the sheer coldness of Alma West's recital. Without a flicker of emotion, she related how she watched Tommy Abbott's winnings accumulate and how she notified her colleagues about it, knowing that it would probably result in his death.
Then when Radin and Slim got to the club, I left.
Where did you go, Miss West?
To Slim Everett's apartment.
Did anything happen there?
I waited for Slim. I was kind of tired, so I went to the bedroom and took a nap. I woke up with a start. There were voices in the living room. It was Slim and Radin. Radin was saying...
Well, I'll be up.
What's the matter, Ed?
Well, the buttons on my overcoat's gone.
Where'd you lose it?
Well,
Was it loose?
No.
And it must have come off.
Yeah. When Abbott made a grab for me and I had to sap him.
That's swell. Just swell. Now the cops will know he wasn't killed in an accident. They got something to work on. A button off of a navy blue overcoat.
Well, let them work on it. Where'll it lead them? Must be at least 1 million other guys in the city with navy blue bennies.
Yeah, but those other fellas, they've got all their buttons.
Hey, is that a
Ah,
crack?
cut it out. This is no time to get sensitive.
Okay. Well, don't get excited about that button. Won't be missing long.
You can't go to a tailor to have one sewed on. The cops will be looking for just that.
Who said anything about going to a tailor? There's a whole box full of buttons in the basement of a joint I know. I'm bound to be the right size. I'll sew it on myself.
But Ed, are you sure?
Stop worrying, will you? Your face is as red as your necktie.
My tie's green.
All right, so it's green. Maybe that's the color your face will be when I spill the real news to you.
What news?
Just this. Starting right now, we're changing the way we operate.
Go on. I'm listening.
We don't split the take 3 ways anymore.
No?
No. Alma doesn't get a third like she's been getting.
Why not?
Because I said
Look,
so.
Ed, we've been doing all right. Let's not louse things up. We got 21 grand tonight, right?
Right?
That's 7,000 apiece, right?
Wrong. Alma doesn't get a third, neither do you.
What?
I'm making myself the head of this outfit. I'm taking 60%. You and Alma split what's left.
Don't start anything like that. It isn't healthy.
I'm not starting anything I can't finish.
Why,
Don't
you-
reach for your gun, not when if you want to live.
You killed a man tonight, yeah, and it's gone to your head. All of a sudden, you're a big shot. Jesse James and Chip the Blood and John Dillinger all rolled into one. Well, big shot, I'm going.
You're not going to do anything anymore, Slim. You should have remembered I'm a fast shot.
Then he left the apartment. When I heard the door close, I went into the living room. Slim was dead. That's when I phoned the police and told them that Radin had shot Slim.
Thank you, Miss West. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, now you know who killed Thomas Abbott. If there was any doubt about it, the testimony of this witness has dispelled.
May it please the court, the defendant is being tried on the charge of having killed Thomas Abbott, not Richard Everett. The testimony about Slim Everett's death has absolutely no bearing on this case. That testimony, regardless of whether true or false, and we're not concerned with that at this time, was presented for two purposes. First, to confuse the jury, and second, to prejudice the jury against Edward Radin. Under the circumstances, I move that this be declared a mistrial.
Your Honor, counsel had the privilege of objecting to the witness's testimony when she first mentioned the murder of Richard Everett.
It was impossible.
His failure to do so was intentional.
The lawyers wrangled. They quoted authorities and they cited precedents. And with each argument and each passing minute, the jury became more and more distracted and confused. Veteran court reporters realized that the prosecutor knew this but couldn't do anything about it. He had to continue fighting to prevent the declaration of a mistrial. The reporters realized that the defense counsel was aware of this, too, and was purposely prolonging the interlude to dissipate the full impact of Alma West's testimony. Finally, the judge ruled.
Defense counsel's motion for a mistrial is denied.
Exception?
But the jury is instructed to disregard the testimony pertaining to Richard Everett's death. This trial is concerned solely with determining whether or not the defendant killed Thomas Abbott as...
The lawyers' arguments had consumed so much time that court was recessed until morning. When it reconvened, Alma West, cold and hard as before, returned to the stand, and the defense began its cross-examination.
Miss West, yesterday you told this court that on January 21st, when you left the Sunset Club, you went directly to Slim Everett's apartment.
That's right.
What means of transportation did you use?
I took a cab.
You remember the driver's name?
No.
You remember his number?
No.
You recall the number of his cab?
No.
Do you remember what kind of cab it was?
No.
The questions and the defiant answers crackled like lightning flashes in a summer storm. Hour after hour, the relentless cross-examination went on. Everyone in the courtroom was tense. Obviously, the case hinged on Alma West's testimony. Unless her story was discredited, the defendant was doomed. The defense counsel seemed to be tiring rapidly. His questions became perfunctory and lukewarm.
And, Miss West, you say you left the Sunset Club in a taxi?
I did.
Did this doorman summon it for you?
No.
Why didn't he?
He was busy taking care of some other people.
I see. Alma West, why did you kill Slim Everett?
Objection. This trial concerns the death of Thomas Abbott.
Sustained.
In that case, Alma West, why did you kill Thomas Abbott?
Objection. The witness is not on trial.
Sustained.
No, the witness is not on trial, nor is there any likelihood that she will be. And why? Because she made a deal with the district attorney. In return for turning state's witness, she is to go free for her admitted complicity in the murder of Tommy Abbott.
That is not true, Your Honor. The state did not make a deal with the witness.
Ah? Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen of the jury? The state did not offer Alma West immunity for her testimony. Then why did she willingly implicate herself as an accessory to the fact in the murder charge? I'm sure she can give a good reason for doing that. Let's see what she says. Miss West, why are you jeopardizing your own freedom in an effort to convict Edward Radin?
That is none of your business.
Young woman, this is a court of law. Please conduct yourself accordingly. Counselor, will you repeat the question?
Gladly, Your Honor. Miss West, why are you jeopardizing your own freedom in an effort to convict Edward Radin? Oh, why don't you answer?
Miss West, unless you answer, you will be considered in contempt of court.
So I'm in contempt of court.
Your Honor, I'm sure the witness doesn't understand the effect of her attitude on the state's case.
Well, I don't want to do anything to hurt the state's case. I'll answer the question, even though I know that Radin's lawyer will try to twist and distort it into something ugly. Slim Everett and I were in love. I want Radin to die for killing him. I want that more than anything else in the world. I'm not afraid of going to jail. I don't care what happens to me. I don't care about anything anymore now that Slim is dead.
Very touching, Miss West. Very touching indeed. You should have been an actress. You just gave a moving performance, but at the right time, I'll show the jury that you used the wrong script.
That ended the activity for the day. The first witness to take the stand the following morning was Terence Cassidy, a detective of the homicide squad. He reviewed his work in investigating the death of Thomas Abbott. Then the district attorney asked,
Mr. Cassidy, how did you know that the deceased was not killed when his car crashed into a tree?
Because I found a button clutched in his right hand. It wasn't from his own clothes, so that meant it belonged to someone who was there just before Abbott died.
Yes?
If it had been a friend or someone who had tried to render first aid, he would have reported the accident to the police. Since we had no such report, it was logical to believe that the button came from the clothes of someone who had attacked Abbott.
I see, thanks. Now, will you tell the jury, is this the button you found in Tommy Abbott's hand?
It is.
Your Honor, I present it as Exhibit A for the state.
In the absence of any objections, let it be so marked.
Now, Mr. Cassidy, did you find anything else at the scene of death?
Yes, there was a slug from a .32 caliber gun buried in the left rear fender.
Is this it?
Yes, sir.
I offer it as State's Exhibit B.
So mark it.
Now, Mr. Cassidy, isn't it true that a .32 caliber bullet was also the cause of Richard Everett's death?
I object. The question is immaterial, incompetent, and irrelevant.
Sustained.
That's all, Mr. Cassidy. Your witness, Counselor.
Mr. Cassidy, from your experience, what kind of people generally own a .32 caliber revolver?
Usually women, because it's a small, lightweight gun.
Now, I ask the jury to remember that. Now, Mr. Cassidy, when the defendant was arrested, was a paraffin test made of his hand?
It was.
The purpose of a paraffin test is to find traces of gunpowder indicating that that particular hand fired a gun within the preceding 48 hours, isn't it?
That's right.
What did the test you gave Edward Radin show?
There was no gunpowder on his hand.
That's all. You may step down.
Oh, one moment, Mr. Cassidy, one moment. Isn't it possible to fire a gun without leaving gunpowder traces on the hand?
Why, sure, by wearing a glove.
By wearing a glove. And people do wear gloves in the kind of weather we have in January. Now, one more question. Haven't you ever known of men using a .32 caliber revolver?
Of course. Come to think of it, it's the gun used in most banks.
Thank you. Now you may step down. Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I don't propose to waste your time with oratorical flourish. The state has presented its case. The evidence proves that Edward Radin and his Confederates planned to kill and rob Thomas Abbott. That Radin followed Abbott when he left the Sunset Club on January 21st. That Abbott was killed, and that Radin killed him. And frankly, the state has withheld one bit of evidence. But it will be used if Edward Radin dares take the stand. And with that, the state rests.
Is the defense ready to present its case?
We are, Your Honor.
Proceed, please.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I can tell you about the mysterious piece of evidence withheld by the district attorney. It's the defendant's overcoat. I can also tell you that Exhibit A, the button found in Tommy Abbott's hand, will match the buttons of that coat. For that matter, it'll match the buttons of a million other navy blue overcoats. I don't know why the state should want to present it as evidence only if the defendant takes the stand, unless the district attorney is using that as a bluff to keep Edward Radin from testifying in his own behalf. However, an innocent man has nothing to fear, so I'm going to call that bluff. Will Edward Radin take the stand?
Edward Radin, take the stand. Raise your right hand. Promise swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, help you God. Be seated.
Mr. Radin, tell the jury, did you plan to rob and, if necessary, kill Thomas Abbott as described by On the West?
Yes, I did.
Did you do it?
No,
What made you change your plan?
I didn't change them. They were changed for me.
Tell the jury what happened.
I followed Abbott out of the Sunset Club, all right. Got into his car and drove off. I started for my car where my partner Slim Everett was supposed to wait for me. That's when my plans were changed.
How?
Slim drove away before I reached the car.
There are the facts, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the simple and complete story of why Edward Radin is not guilty of killing Thomas Abbott. I have only two more questions. First, Mr. Radin, did you notice if there was anyone in the car with Slim Everett?
Yeah. Alma West was in it.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, you know why I said she gave a good performance, but her lines were from the wrong script. Now, Mr. Radin, the second and last question. Were there any buttons missing from your overcoat when the police took it from you?
No, it had all its buttons.
Thank you. Your witness, Mr. District Attorney.
First, let me assure counsel that the defendant's overcoat has the number of buttons it's supposed to have.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Now, by the way, Mr. Radin, what color is that coat?
Blue. Navy blue.
And what color is my necktie?
Why, navy blue.
For your information, Mr. Radin, it is brown. Dark brown. And that means, Mr. Radin, that you are colorblind.
Okay, so I'm colorblind. So what?
So when you sewed on a button to replace the one Tommy Abbott had torn off your overcoat, you put a brown button on a navy blue coat. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, one brown button. Just one on a navy blue coat.
I didn't do it. I didn't sew that button on. A tailor did it. It was done long before Abbott was killed.
No, Radin, the tailor didn't sew on that button. First, I've never heard of a colorblind tailor. And second, the brown button is fastened on with the wrong kind of thread. No tailor would attempt to sew on a button with 21-gauge thread.
There was the number 21 again. It completed the evidence against Edward Radin. When the jury had filed back into the box, the woman who was serving as foreman announced the verdict as
Guilty of murder in the first degree.
But that wasn't the finale of the case that began and ended with 21. That came later when the judge pronounced,
Edward Radin, it is the sentence of this court that you be removed to the state penitentiary and there executed according to the laws of this state. Said execution to take place on the 21st day of June, 1947.
and that's the end.
And also the end of another famous jury trial. These exciting dramatizations are brought to you each week by the American Broadcasting Company. Next week, we will present the trial of the People versus Stevens.
Court is adjourned.
All names, times, and places mentioned on tonight's program are fictional. Famous Jury Trials is produced and directed by Wiley Adams. Tonight's script was written by Len Finger. Your narrator was Norman Rose. The cast included Alice Reinhardt, James Van Dyke, Raymond Edward Johnson, Bernard Lenrow, Joe DeSantis, Sidney Paul, and Ralph Camargo. Your announcer, Bill Crago. Be sure to listen next week when the American Broadcasting Company presents another famous jury trial. Now here's a special program note. It means thrills, excitement, gripping mystery when lawyer John J. Malone tackles a case of murder. Don't miss Murder and Mr. Malone tonight over this ABC station. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.